Hashem, today's daf is Masechta Baba Kamma Daf Samach Tes, and we're starting from Eisvei Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Basically, what we're talking about is this pasuk in the Chumash. The pasuk says, "Hold on." Okay, here's Louis. Hi, we just began. I'm just discussing what we. The Torah tells us.
Right.
The Torah tells us if you steal an ox or a sheep and you sell it, right, then you have to pay chamisha baka tachas ashar v'abat soin tachas aseh. You have to pay dalid v'hei 4 times or 5 times as much as what you stole. Now, when the Torah says this word, oy mechorai, what did the Torah mean? That you actually sold it? That means if you sold it, that the guy that purchased it really bought it. How's that possible? If the original owner was not meyayish it, if he didn't give up hope of ever getting back, then your sale is not really a good sale because you can't sell something you don't really own. So some want to say that the Torah, obligated to you only before years, before the victim gave up hope. Because if he gave up hope, right? So when the Ganav was selling it, he's really selling his own. It really belonged to the Ganav. So why is the Torah obligating him to pay above a chamisha? Yeah. This is what we learned yesterday. Let's just repeat. Rabbi Yochanan said that the Torah obligated you above the chamisha, whether you sold it before years, whether you sold it after years, right? Doesn't matter. The Torah made the I would say the person guilty. Okay, so the person is guilty now. But Reb Shlokish says, why? Because if the person was miyayish, if the nignav was miyayish, what's the din? The nignav was miyayish. So then shalohi taveach or shalohi moicher. So why would you? The ganav was koinit, and therefore when he sold it, the ganav was selling something that really belongs to him. But Rabbi Yochanan holds Yish is not koina. You get it? That's the point. Yish is not koina. And therefore, just because the guy gave up hope doesn't mean it belongs to the Ganav. So Eisvei Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan asked the question to Rish Lakish, and we'll finish up this sugya and start a new sugya. Ganav, if a man stole, let's say, an ox, okay? And he's a frum guy, the higdish, and then he made it hegdish. Then he shechted it for himself. Mishalem tashlume kefil, he pays tashlume kefil. He stole, he pays double. Mishalem tashlume abal chamishi, but he doesn't pay the 4 and the 5 because he slaughtered a holy animal. It really didn't belong to the ganav. Amos, when did the ganav make it holy? If it was before years and he was magdish to behema, Gemara's question is mikodesh. Can a person make an animal kodesh? If you don't own the animal, how could they have ganav made it ever kodesh? Ish ki yagdish as beisei kodesh. The Torah says, if you make your house kodesh, the only time you can make something holy is if it really belongs to you. But if it doesn't belong to you, you can't make anything holy. Ela pshita, it must be la'acha yeyush that we're talking about after yeyush, right? And therefore, the guy, the ganav really doesn't really own it, but he owns it enough to make it hegdish. Because by making it hegdish, he's transferring the ownership to hegdish. So yeyush and shin rishus makes an effective kinyan. So the time, and therefore, if he slaughters it afterwards, he's not going to pay abba v'chamisha. The Tama, the whole reason is the Tama, the hegdish, who de'ena mishalem tashlum abba v'chamisha. It's only because he made it hegdish. That's why you don't pay abba v'chamisha. T'chich tavach, when you're shachting it, the hegdish kotavach, you're shachting something that belongs to hegdish. Aval, but very important over here. Aval lo hegdish. If you didn't make it hegdish, right? It's a regular animal, and it's after years. Tavach masham tashlum abba v'chamisha. Then you would pay abba v'chamisha. V'isal kadaitach, if according to you Rish Lakish, yeyush koina, as soon as the nignav, the guy that got it stolen from, was giving up hope, it automatically reverts to the ownership reverts to the ganev. So amay mishalim. Why would he pay abba v'chamisha if in case he did not be magdish it? Why would he pay? Shaloihu teveach, shaloihu moiche. He's selling his own item. He's selling something that belongs to him. So again, another bomb question on the question of, can you say that when the owner gives up hope, it automatically belongs to the ganav? If that's the case, then you can't say that you would be chayev haba v'chamisha, because the ganav is really selling something that really he owns. Amalei, so Rish Lakish will answer Rabbi Yochanan, Hacha b'mayaskin. Here we're talking about kegoin shekdushuhu ba'alam biyad ganav. That really, it's not that the ganav, it's really talking about before years. And really, who made it holy? It's not the ganav that made it hegdish. It was the nignav who made it hegdish. He says, I know somebody stole my animal, I'm making it hegdish. So if that's the case, if the ganav happened to have slaughtered it, he would not pay abba v'chamisha. So that's the case. So we're not that brisa is not in the discussion of after years. So it doesn't get involved in the machlokes between Yochanan and Rish Lakish. So the question is, umi kodesh, can somebody who got something stolen from him, can he make something holy? It's not in his possession. He may own something, but it's not with him now. It's not in his domain. Rabbi Yochanan said, if someone stole something and the original owner did not give up hope, so really, it's in the reshus of the gazlan, but it belongs to the original owner. Both of them cannot make hegdish out of the item that was stolen. The ganav can't do it. The gazlan can't do it. It's not his. He stole it. And the original owner cannot do it either, because it's not in his possession. So how could you say that it was talking about a situation where the original owner made it hegdish while it was in the possession of the ganav? He has no right to make it hegdish because it's not in his domain. It's not in front of his face. It was stolen from him. So answers the Gemara, Amre, that brisa that says you can do it, there is a shita called snuim, and we'll discuss that more, but trust me on this one, that snuin hold that even if something is not in your domain, your item was stolen from you, and it's now, in the ganav's possession, you can make it holy. And that is a sheet of Tznuin who argues against Rabbi Yochanan. Now we learned in the Mishnah, there it's dealing with Geneva, and the Tznuin had the right to Hoida, let's say it was talking about there, it's talking about Kerem Ravai, like it's similar to Maisa Sheni, and they're Hoida something, and even though it's not in their domain. So therefore, that brisa that said that the original owner made it holy, that brisa was going according to the Tznuin. Says the Gemara of Chazer Karen Labalim. The question is, how the brisa also said that the ganav would pay kefal. And if it's talking about where the Bailam made it hegdish, why do you pay kefal? It's the possession of the item, albeit will be in some way considered as if the nignav still has it, because you see, he can make it hegdish. And kefil, you're not obligated to pay only if you find an item in the hands of the ganav. Adam said, "Oh, but now it's made hegdish, so it's not really in the possession of the ganav anymore. So why would he pay why would he pay kefil?" Answers the Gemara, before the original owner made a hegdish, they went to court, and the court found the ganav guilty to pay kefil. Says the Gemara, hey chedami, what was the case? Ida amrit saying tain loy, if the court told the ganav, go give it back, by iri higdish, only because the original owner made a hegdish, that's why you don't pay dollar to the hey. Even if he did not make it hegdish, you can't obligate him to pay dollar v'hei. The Amar Rava said, say tain loy, if once Bezdin paskin on an animal and told the ganav, give it back, if he shechted it, pata. My timer, Kevin Behaskil and Milsa, since they already established the guilt of the ganav, then he goes ahead and shechts it anyway. Havale Gazlam, he's automatically a Gazlan. He's not a ganaf anymore. The Gazlam ain't a mishalim tashlumi abba v'chamisha, and the Gazlan will not pay abba v'chamisha. So the question is, that's the question. So what is the situation where the guy made it holy? The ganaf is going to have to pay kefil. So the Gemara answers, the Gemara didn't say it, but if the court would have said Chayiv, we go to Samach Testament Aleph, Chayiv ata ditin loy, you're obligated to give. The court didn't force him to give, the Ganav to give. The court basically said, we think you're going to be guilty. So then the court didn't come to a conclusion yet. If he would shecht it, Misham and sell it. Misham tashlumei bachal misha. My tama kiven deloy paskim milsa kati ganav. Since the court didn't yet come to a conclusion, he's still considered a ganav. So again, what is the case talking about? So the Gemara concludes, like they told the ganif that we think that you're supposed to give it. But therefore you pay. Therefore you pay. Therefore you pay. Therefore you pay. Therefore you pay kefil, but you're not going to pay dalad vehei because it belongs to hegdish. And really, we're talking about lifnei yish. And the one that made it holy was not that the Ganav made it holy, but it was the original owner who made it holy, and he can make it holy because he holds like the Tznuin that even if something is not in your possession, you could make it holy. New Gemara. Gufa we learned. They're just rehashing that. Omar Rabbi Yochanan said, something that was stolen, and you didn't, and the original owner didn't give up hope. Right? Something was stolen from you, and the original owner didn't give him hope. Both of them, the ganef and the original owner, cannot make it hegdish anymore. Let's say it's an animal. Why? The ganef can't make it hegdish because it's not his. And the original owner cannot do it because it's not in his possession. And once something is not in your possession, you can't make it holy. Says the Gemara, Umi Omar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan say such a thing? That what? That you can make that once something is not in your reshus, you cannot make it holy. Omar Rabbi Yochanan said, Halacha kastam Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha is like a plain Mishnah, an anonymous Mishnah, and this anonymous Mishnah will say that even if something is not in your reshus, you could make it, you could do something with it. You could transfer its holiness onto money. What do you see? Tonight we learned in the Mishnah. Kamma Ravai, if a person has a vineyard that's in its 4th year, anything growing on that vine has a din like Ma'aser Sheni. And let's say the Tznuim were concerned that somebody's going to steal it from you, right? And he's going to eat it. So they didn't want the ganef, they didn't want a ganef to come steal it and be over the Isser of Kamma Ravai by eating it like chulin. Really, Kamma Ravai is supposed to be eaten in Yerushalayim. So they would demarcate the Kamma Ravai with clods of dirt. So if the Ganav comes, he knows what he's stealing. He's stealing Kamma Ravai because sin moniki adama. It reminds the Ganav that what you're stealing over here is something that eventually you could have benefit from if you redeem it. But as long as you don't redeem it, then you can't benefit. So just like a clod of earth, if you plant with it and something, you can make something profit from it. But if you don't do anything with it, there's nothing. Vishal Arla. Let's say you have a tree of Arla, Bacharsis. They would demarcate it by putting potsherds on it. Simone kecharsis, ma charsis sheina nomina, avaid lest lei hanomina. They reminds the guy that's trying to steal it, don't steal this because you're not going to be able to benefit from it. It's a arla tree. Vishal kavarais, let's say they wanted to demarcate burial spots. It wasn't so clear. Besid, they would put lime there. Simona the chiyuvor ka'atzomais, that you should be white like bones. And they would dilute it and spill a lot of lime all around the Beis HaKvaros, so that it will be very, very white, and therefore it's extremely white, and therefore people will know, Kohanim will know not to go there. You see, we're very careful to, even when you have we have things that could lead to an Isser, to a guy who steals it from you, we're very careful to make sure he knows what he's stealing. Amar Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says, when do you demarcate things between Medvar Mamur and B'Shvius? On Shemitah, the Hefkininu, because it's Hefker, everybody can walk into your field, so therefore you demarcate what the items the people are taking. Ava B'Shnar Sheshvua, if it's other years of Shemitah, and if somebody comes in and wants to steal your arla tree, the fruit from your arla tree, don't tell him it's arla. Halitei l'Rasha v'yamas, let the Rasha take it and let him die. So that's what the Rab Shimon ben Gamliel says. Tnuin are like holy people. They're very scared that somebody's going to steal the Kamma Ravai. They would put aside money. They say, if the ganav call hanilkat mizeh, if the ganav would take my kerem revai and steal it from me, I don't want him to be over the isra of eating kerem revai wherever he is. Then after he takes it, the kedusha of the kerem revai should be transferred on this money. So we see from here, from this Stam Mishnah, that even though something is not in your rishus, you could actually effectuate a transfer of holiness. The Ganav stole Kerem Ravai from you, and the Tznuin didn't want the Ganav Chas v'Shalom to eat treifus, so they would say, "Oh, you stole Kerem Ravai. Even though I don't know where it is, it's not my rishus. The kedusha of that Kerem Ravai should transfer for that money." So we see from this Stam Mishnah that even though something is not in your rishus, you could transfer and make a kedusha or transfer kedusha. So, but how can Rabbi Yochanan say that when something is not rishus, you cannot do anything with it? Rabbi Yochanan always paskins like a plain Mishnah. The chitema, are you going to say Mantana Tznuin? Who's the author of this Tznuin Mishnah? Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. It's not a Stam Mishnah because Rab Shimon ben Gamliel is the one that's talking over here. Still, even if you called it's Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, you should paskin like this Mishnah. You paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel whenever he's talking. Three places you don't paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is one of those tanoim that you always paskin like. So whether you call it a Stam Mishnah or whether you say that the author of the Mishnah is Rav Shimon ben Gamliel of the Tznuim, you should paskin like that. So that means that even if something is not in your domain, you could make it holy, like the Tznuin did. The Tznuin were transferring the kedusha that the Ganav stole from the Kerem Ravai on money. So how could Rabbi Yochanan disagree with this Mishnah? Answers the Gemara, Amrei, so we change it around. Loi tema kol hanilkut mizeh, el kol hamislakik mizeh. The Tznuin did not say, oh, after the Ganav takes it, then I'm transferring the kedusha on my money. We know they said it in the morning. If they're going to take whatever they're going to take, then it's transferred. So when they said that statement, the Kerem Avai was still in their domain. It wasn't that the statement was said after the Ganav took it. It was stated prior to the Ganav taking it. Says the Gemara, Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan say such a thing that you could do such a thing? Rabbi Yochanan said, Tznuin Rabbi Daisa Amr Dava Echad. The Tznuin and Rabbi Daisa both say the same idea. Rabbi Daisa is Nilka Kamma. Rabbi Daisa is talking about after it was taken. In a similar story, Rabbi Daisa did what the Tznuin did. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa. Rabbi Yehuda said, we know that leket is when you're harvesting a field, if something falls from your hand, if one stalk falls or two stalks fall, it belongs to Matnas Aniyim. But if a lot of stalks fall, then it belongs to the Baal Habayis, and some Aniyim would take it anyway. So Shachris, Rabbi Yehuda said, Shachris Baal Habayis Oymin v'Oymer Kol Sheyilakte Aniyah Yom Yehei Hefker. In the morning, a guy would get up. The owner would say, if the Aniyim steal it from me, I want it to be hefker because I don't want them to eat something that's tevel. Because if it's not hefker, then the aniyim are stealing something that you didn't give off maestros from it. So you say when they're going to collect it, if they're going to collect it, it should be hefker. Rabbi Yudaisa Aymet li tusi erev Aymet. Before you go to sleep, you say kol sheliktu aniyim yehafker. If they took something from me, it's going to be hefker. So you're making it hefker after it came into the aniyim's hands. And Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Daisa is saying the same idea of Tznuin. So it must be that Tznuin are saying kol hanilkat mizeh if they took it, not kol hamislake. So how do you square off everything? And says the Gemara, Eipach, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Daisa, Rabbi Daisa, Rabbi Yehuda. So basically you're saying that Rabbi Daisa actually said, Shachris Balabayis, I'm a kol sheyilaktu aniyim hayom ha'efka. And Rabbi Yehuda was saying kol sheliktu. So Rabbi Daisa was saying what Rabbi Yehuda said, that if they're going to take, I want it to be hefka right now. So the Gemara, this is what Baba Kamma is all about. The Gemara gets detailed. Amayim apcha masnita. Why did you turn around the words? Rabbi Daisa said, Rabbi Yehuda said what Rabbi Daisa said. Apchila Rabbi Yochanan. Let's just change Rabbi Yochanan's words. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan was misquoted. The Ema, and that's more likely that an Amira was misquoted than a Brisa. The Ema, Rabbi Yochanan meant to say, Tznuin, Rabbi Yehuda, Amri Davra Echad. Rabbi Tznuin and Rabbi Yehuda said the same idea. But why do you change around the Brisa? Just change around what Rabbi Yochanan said. Amre, so the Gemara says, Loi Misagi, we have no choice. We have no alternative. We have to turn around the brisa because the whole brisa is a mistake. Why? The Bahamas Nisa Kitane, the Islay Rabbi Yehuda Breira. In this brisa, it says that Rabbi Yehuda holds of the principle of retroactive designation. That when they're going to take it, when the aniyim are going to steal something, we're going to retroactively say that it was hefker what they took. But is that something you can do? We hear that the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Ba'alma, the less lebreira. You can't retroactively say, oh, retroactively it was hefker. Only you can make something hefker right now, but you can't say, oh, when you take it, then it becomes hefker. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of that idea. The Tanam we learned in the Mishnah, we go on the Amid Beis, a guy buys wine amongst like non-from Jews, okay? And he knows that they didn't give off Trumas and Maasros, and it's Erev Shabbos, and he's in a rut. So he's going to use the wine on Shabbos, and he's going to say, Shnei Lugin Shani Asad Lahafrish. The two lugin that I'm going to leave over, I don't know which two lugs of this bottle of wine, Harei and Truma, Asora Maisarishan, Tes Maishasheni, and Umeichel Mishayis try to fix the Maishasheni by transferring the money on the Kedusha Maishasheni on to money. But what you're going to do on Shabbos, you're going to drink the wine, and you're going to have the leftover wine, and you're going to say retroactively that was Truma, and retroactively that was Maisarishan. Divrei Rab Meir. Rab Meir is the opinion of that. But Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Oisrim, they hold you can't do that. You can't say something was retroactively Trumas and Maasros. You can only take off Trumas and Maasros now, and then you can drink it. But if you drink something, then say, oh, what I left over becomes Trumas and Maasros, doesn't work. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, don't hold a breira. And so we see clearly Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold a breira, so it must be that Rabbi Yehuda did not say what he said in that brisa. So you have to turn it around. Rabbi Yehuda said what Rabbi Daisa said, that after the aniyim take it, then they made it hefker. So then you're not doing breira because they took it and it's now in their possessions. That's whatever is theirs in their hands, then that's their possessions, and therefore you can make it hefker. So the Gemara asks one more question. Amrei, Soif, at the end of the day, Rabbi Yehuda, you're turning around the version of the Mishnah because you have a question, one Rabbi Yehuda against the other Rabbi Yehuda. But Hashtaname, Kashir the Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yochanan. But now, by you're going to have a double question against Rabbi Yochanan, because by turning around the brisa, you're going to have a double question against Rabbi Yochanan. What's the question? Why? The Amrit Rabbi Yochanan said, "Loi tema kol hamilkot ela kol hamislakit." That you don't say kol hamilkot, but the Tsunuin said kol hamislakit. Whatever will be taken should be transferred by the Keren Rabbi onto my money. So, because kol hamislakit. You could say that if they're going to, whatever they're going to take will be transferred, the Kedusha will be transferred onto my money. Alma, so you must say, Islay Rabreira. Rabbi Yochanan holds of Breira. But so if Rabbi Yochanan holds like the Tznuin, who holds of Breira, Rabbi Yochanan Leslie, but Rabbi Yochanan himself does not hold of Breira. Rabbi Asi said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the Ha'achin Shecholku. Let's say two brothers divide up an estate, and they divide up an estate. Now we know when you divide an estate, so the point is, when you divide up estate with your brothers, you think you could keep the land till forever. It's yours, right? Rabbi Yochanan has an opinion. If I divide an estate with my brother, comes Yovel, we have to re-switch it again. We have to divide it up again. Because lukuch it's when we're dividing up an estate, doesn't mean that I inherited that. When I originally divided up with my brother, it doesn't mean I inherited that. It means that he sold me my rights in the estate, and I sold him his rights in the estates. Because you don't say, oh, the real estate that I got was retroactively my inheritance. No, we don't know. So therefore, it's lekucha. It's as if you bought from each other. Comes yovel, like all things that are bought, you have to redivide it again. So we see from over here, from this point over here, that Rabbi Yochanan does not hold a breira. And if you're saying he holds like Tsunuin, that you could say kol hamislake, it means you do hold a breira. So now you have a problem, Rabbi Yochanan against Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara goes back to the drawing board, and this is where we will come to a conclusion in a minute. The question remained. Okay, let's ask the question, and now we'll come to the final teretz. The question remained. Rabbi Yochanan made a statement in the beginning of the Gemara that if something that was stolen and the original owner, didn't give up Yish, he didn't give up hope, both cannot be Magdish that field. The Ganaf certainly can't because it's not his, but the Nigzal can't either because it's not in his domain, it's in the Gazlan's domain. But then Rabbi Yochanan should paskin like a Stam Mishnah of the Tznuin that used to transfer Kedusha of something, they used to transfer Kedusha even though it wasn't in their Rishus. They would somebody stole Karmavai from them, and they would say, "Okay, now that they stole it, I'm transferring the kedusha onto money." So now, how do you reconcile that? Rabbi Yochanan should paskin like the Tznuin. Right, the Tznuin hold that you could transfer something that's not in your shrus, but Rabbi Yochanan, who holds you cannot do that, stamachrina ashkach. He found another Mishnah, and that's our Mishnah. It's now we learned in the Mishnah. This aganaf who steals from a ganaf will not pay tashlume kefil. Amai, why wouldn't he pay? Why wouldn't he pay kefil? Bishnam alaganav rishon loy mishalam. If the original owner didn't give up hope, so of course you don't pay the first ganav because v'gunav b'beisho ish. The Torah says you pay kefil if you steal from the original owner's house, and here you're stealing from the ganav's house. V'loy mebeis ganav el labaylam nishalim. You should pay to the original owner. The original owner didn't give up hope, right? So therefore, why don't you pay kefil if you steal from the ganav? So the ganav, the nignaf will get a kefil from the ganav rishon, and it will get a kefil from the ganav sheni. Why? The reason is the point is that since it's not in the rishus of the original owner, it's not considered v'guna v'beis ish. You stole from his house. The only time you're going to pay kefil if you steal from his house, and therefore we see this concept of something that's not in your rishus. We don't consider that you own it. True that you could own something, but we're basically threading the needle. You could own something, and monetarily it's yours, but you can't do anything about it because it's not in your domain. It's in the ganav's domain. So the Gemara says, the Gemara concludes, why did he go like this Stam Mishnah? Why didn't he pass like the Tznuin that even though something is not in your Rishus, it's considered like as if it's in your Rishus? Because really the pasuk says this idea. That really, when can you make something holy? Only if it's in your domain. But if it's not in your domain, even if you own it, but if it's not in your domain, you have no possessions of it, it was like impounded, so then you can't do anything about it. So that is why Rabbi Yochanan said this comment, and that's how we started the sugya, that gonav, v'loi, nisyayichu abaylam. And remember this is the whole point. If a guy steals and the original owner did not make it, give up hope, the ganav cannot make it hagdish because it's not his. But even the original owner cannot because it's not in his rishus. And yet there is a Stam Mishnah that would disagree on this, but there's a Stam Mishnah that would agree to this concept, and that's why Rabbi Yochanan paskin like the second Stam Mishnah. Okay, we'll stop here.